right, my friends, that was Stephen Kinzer, the author of All the Shah's Men and Overthrow, a New York Times correspondent, his speech at the Future Freedom Foundation Restoring the Republic Conference 2008. The video is available at cspan.org and soon will be put out by the Future Freedom Foundation. And I'm really glad that a major focus of that speech was, well, first of all, on the unintended consequences, like we spoke about with Patrick Coburn, and now specifically on Iran, which is the topic of our next interview here. It's Jahangir Golestan-Parast. He is an independent filmmaker who has put together this movie called BAM 6.6. And it's about the earthquake that took place in Iran in 2004 and the lives of some Americans caught up in the catastrophe there. Welcome to the show, sir.
Yes, good morning. Thank you very much.
Well, I'm very glad to have you on the show here, and I congratulate you on this incredible piece of work that you've put together here.
I appreciate it. So you did watch the film yourself?
Yes, sir. I watched it this morning, in fact.
And what was your outtake?
Well, I'll tell you, obviously, the most important thing to me is simply that this is footage of Iranian civilians walking around Iran. And I believe, because at some point in my life, people in the Middle East, to me, in my imagination, only existed as the cartoon characters from the Disney movies that I had seen as a child. And they, a cartoon character clearly is less than a human being and okay to manipulate however you want, right? And I think that, unfortunately, that's the view still of maybe even a majority of adults in this country, is that foreigners aren't quite really human beings in the same way that we are. And what I like especially about your movie is not only can you tell that Iraqis are human beings just like us, not, great holy creatures, just plain old humans just like Americans, but in fact a lot of these people look just like folks I went to high school with or knew in the neighborhood or knew at jobs that I had here in Austin, Texas. And I think that really makes a difference in humanizing the dehumanized, because, frankly, Iranians, I think, are quite dehumanized in American media and popular culture, sir.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Well, I just have to say that I'm honored to be in this show, and I just wanted to start by saying that a little phrase about really love and compassion that I wanted to start my interview with you.
Sure.
Often we learn to love others only as our expectations are met or fulfilled. But that is not love. That is forcing our expectations upon others. That's what I thought that I should really say that. And of course, this quote is from Love is the Solution, Peace is Possible by an Iranian writer by Mr. Nasser Zaghi.
And, that kind of sentiment really comes out in a situation like featured in your movie, which is a terrible earthquake, any kind of natural disaster. I remember a few years back up the road in Gerald, Texas, just a massive tornado came. Well, maybe it was 10 years ago now or more. Massive tornado came, like as wide as a Texas freeway, came through this town and destroyed it. And people came from everywhere to try to help in any way that they could. And this is the same thing that happened after this earthquake in BAM, Iran.
BAM 6.6, right.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to sound like John McCain there. BAM, is that how it's pronounced?
Fine.
Yeah, that's what happened. People came from all over the world, including the United States, to come participate in the rescue efforts. And in a situation like that, there are no expectations of even necessarily a thank you. The person you help might be unconscious. It's its own reward.
Absolutely, and I think you mentioned a very important key here, Mr. Horton. When the earthquake happened, we saw the compassion and love of all the world that poured into Iran, and I wish it would have stayed that way. It's so sad that a natural disaster has to happen to bring us one another close to each other. I wish we could see more film like this, so that way we understand that we're all human beings and we should have respect for humanity. It doesn't matter where we are born, really.
That's it. That's the key. That's what this movie does, is it brings us that same spirit without an earthquake. The earthquake's over, but we get to remember that, hey, you know what? Everybody's just like everybody else. People are people. Same difference.
Absolutely, and I'm very, very grateful to that American tourist, Tob DeLero. And, of course, I don't want to tell the viewer what happens to Tob, who wanted to show to his young Jewish fiancée who truly Iranian are. And I think I'm very fortunate that I was able, with the help of my tour guide and all the people who told their story, that who truly Iranian are, especially in today's world, that there is hardly any positive, we hear hardly any positive image about Iranian people.
Now, tell us a little bit about this city, Bam. This is an ancient temple shrine city or something?
It's a citadel, 2,500 years old. I think is probably one of the oldest adobe that existed. It existed, many invasion existed, different earthquake, but this time, unfortunately, was completely ruined in December 26, 2003, and not 2004, of course. So it was a very, very unique place, and it was also recognized by UNESCO that it was such a remarkable place. And I'm sure people, although we don't emphasize much about the Citadel, because the story is not really about the Citadel, the story is about the humanity of the world and humanity of the Iranian. That's why we didn't really much emphasize on the history of the Citadel itself, Mr. Horton.
I see. And, yeah, my mistake. Thank you for correcting me. It was 2003. I said 2004. And now, so, yeah, that's what this movie does. It basically follows the story of this man, Tob Del Oro, and his young fiancée, Adele. And there's really just a lot of great footage of people on the streets. I notice, honestly, and I don't know if you cherry-picked the footage this way or not. Believe me, forgive me, I don't mean to accuse you of it or anything. I'm just saying the footage of Tehran that you show, it doesn't look anything like, Baghdad at war or something. It looks like an American city. The streets are the same. The stop signs are the same. The streets are just as wide, and the shops look just like, downtown Austin, more or less, maybe cleaner than that.
Absolutely, and believe it or not, there are some remarkable places in Iran that we didn't focus our camera, because the story was focused on Tob and Adele's story. But I think the viewer should go to Iran, and I think another challenge that I see here is people should just like what Tob did, get out of their comfort zone. Go to those countries, go to Middle East, and see it for yourself. Iran is a very, very ancient places, and every city that you go, you would be amazed with the history of the Iranian and the hospitality of the Iranian. And this film is what it really does. And I'm not saying that you see only kindness and hospitality just in Iran. You see it everywhere. I'm sure if I go to last night I went to my neighbor and I asked for some flour, and they were very happy to give it to me. So I'm really not saying that Americans are also wonderful people. We see it through the eyes of Adele. We see it through the eyes of Tob. We see it through your eyes, that you're interested in getting the story of BAM 6.6 out. So I'm really saying that people should really a bit travel, and I think that's the problem or challenge that I see, that American people unfortunately do not travel, and of course we don't see much history of Iran, as you mentioned earlier, to talk about in schools. 93% of the world exists outside United States, so we need to focus if we want to have a little bit understanding of other countries. We need to read about them. We need to travel to those countries. We need to reach our hand and experience it for ourselves.